Hey guys, Scott here. I just wanted to follow up on the last video that I posted. It was a video where Zach flew for the first time. I titled the video YouTube is my instructor because Zach basically learned off of YouTube, and he read a book, the PPG Bible, and we had I went out with him a couple times and showed him some stuff. And so I posted this video thinking, this might be good information. People might be interested in seeing this, kind of what something pseudo self-training looks like, and some of the hardships we had. And I thought that people would find that educational, that maybe some people would think, wow, self-training looks really hard. There's a lot of things that go wrong that I didn't even think of, and I'm going to steer clear of that and go get an instructor. Other people might look at it and say, hey, that looks very doable. But I kind of thought that most people at the end of the video would be discouraged from self-training. But anyway, I posted that video, and my Facebook and my YouTube just kind of blew up with comments from all over the spectrum, and I was kind of amazed to get such a big response. I'd say half of it was positive and then half of it was fairly negative, but that's kind of the nature of posting anything for any group of people, especially online. When you talk to people in person, people tend to be, I don't know, maybe their people skills are kicking in more or something. They just tend to be a little less dramatic or something. I don't know. But online, nobody can see you typing your comments and stuff, so people tend to just go all out, and maybe they get a thrill from firing off a bunch of choice words or something. I don't know. But it was interesting, to say the least. So I thought I'd make this video and just sort of comment on some of the things people said, and I tried to write a lot of comments in there, but it's kind of hard to get to everybody. So the paramotoring community is kind of interesting, from what I gather. When I got into the sport, I felt like, man, there's a lack of information out there. Like, everybody is spouting off all their knowledge, and all these different viewpoints are like disagreeing, and there's no consensus. And I was like, what a mess. Like, someone needs to like organize this, and like but I think that's the nature of any small sport. So when you have smaller sports, there's less money involved in the sport, and if there's less money, then people tend to not spend tons of time producing organization and such, because it just doesn't pay off. I mean, why put your effort towards something that just doesn't pay off? Then you're wasting your time, right? So I think as the sport grows and it becomes more of a bigger sport, that we're going to see, like, everybody's going to be able to like say, these are the top 3 motors, and this is why they're good. And if you want training, like, these are the top 3 instructors in the United States, or there'll just be so much good information out there. But right now it's not. So it's like a free-for-all on the internet, and everybody's clamoring to say who's right and who's wrong, because nobody has tested all this stuff. I mean, there's lots of people who will claim that they, have tested, but nobody, like, as far as what motor's best, let's say, nobody has flown like 30 hours on 20 different motors from 20 different companies, and done extensive testing on each motor as far as reliability. And now the sport's starting to develop more too, so you get new motors coming out that haven't had 10 years of experience on them, so we might not know how they're going to perform. And most people haven't viewed other instructors instruct students like viewed like 20 instructors and how they do everything, right? So it's very hard to say, well, like this instructor's the best, right? So everybody's opinion is just what their experience from their instructor was. So not a lot of good information. And that, my friend TJ commented on Facebook the other day, and he said, as a result, you get all these people with all these dogmatic viewpoints, and I think he's right. That's kind of led to some of that, and that's too bad, because those things, those passionate feelings without a lot of maybe data to back them up, kind of, it does the opposite of what we want, of getting to a clear resolution, right? The best way is to talk about reasons and data and facts. But so some people will get on with these super strong opinions on so many things, and they'll comment like crazy, and they don't provide a whole lot of evidence for what they're saying. They're just mainly calling everybody else idiots, and then there's other people who will talk about something and show concerns and provide data, and it's very helpful. So you got this big spectrum of people. It's also, this hobby has a whole different like communities of people. So you got like a group of people who they read books and watched YouTube videos and went out and trained themselves, and some of them did that really quickly, and others spent months and tons of research and took very small baby steps to teach themselves, and some people had successful experiences, some people didn't. Then there's other people who believe in building their own equipment, and maybe they did that for financial purposes or whatever, and they just started from scratch, bought a motor and started building a cage. And so you have that community. Then you have the community of people who so there's the organization USHPA, I think that's how it's pronounced, USHPA, but it's an acronym, and so that's organization, like a club that was created, and my understanding is its goal is to kind of bring people together and create some standards for this hobby, and sort of like the NRA formed to protect like gun rights or something, and the USHPA is created there to kind of fight for the pilots' rights, and create standards, try to make the sport safer. Having that synergy allows them to like get flying sites built and stuff like that. So there's that group of people that believe you should make sure to have an instructor that is registered with that club, and then you have you have those group of instructors and people that are all kind of under that club, and that's probably the biggest group. And then you have other like instructors that are teaching people, and they're not a member of that club. So if you're not a member of that club and you are a member of that club, there's like that dynamic there. It seems like the two sides like hate each other. So coming to the sport, I was like realizing like, whoa, like there's a lot of tension between those two. What other groups do we have? I think that's about all of them that I had been thinking of. Some people also learn just from a buddy who has a lot of experience that they know, and so that's convenient for them. So you have all these different people and all these different groups, and they all have this opinions, and then there's some financial things that are in the works. Some of these people with strong opinions are selling you stuff, so that may skew some of their things. Some, USHPA collects money, so they it's hard probably for that not to skew things also, just like, the NRA is collecting money, so, it's going to try to please people who are giving them money, and I don't know, it's a big mess, right? I don't want to say that anybody is like terrible in all this, but there's just all this stuff in it, and everybody has all these strong opinions about this sport, and for whatever reason, a lot of reasons. So that's why when you post anything on the sport, it seems like everybody kind of gets into this frenzy. So I posted this video, and so you have the self-taught pilot saying, "You're giving us a bad name because you're showing Zach, who is trying to fly, do like the 2-hour training of like getting the motor and getting in the air as quick as possible, and you can self-teach yourself much safer than that by spending more time and being more thorough." And so they didn't like, that part of the video. And then I have the other side, people on the other side of the spectrum that saying, "You're making self-taught in this sport look so easy," and like I'm like, if I was trying to make it look easy, I would have edited that video completely different. I would have cut out all those problems, but I showed all that because I'm trying to just provide accurate information to people. And I could have just shown, Zach going out there and taking off for the first time and sailing through the air and having a couple perfect landings, and then showed a little interview with him on the end saying, "Yeah, everybody could do this. YouTube is great for learning." But I didn't do that. I wanted to show all the struggles and show, the concerns and the problems, and because I was trying to make it accurate, So another thing that's interesting about this sport is, and most sports, right, is everybody has a different tolerance for risk. So some people have, safety is like absolutely paramount in everything they do, and it governs every aspect of their life. And then other people are over there, they're skydiving and wingsuiting and doing all these extreme sports that might have, 60% chance of survival or something over their lifespan. So it'll probably kill them eventually. And then, you have people, astronauts that aspire to go to space, or future ones that are going to go to Mars. And so should we hate astronauts because they aspire to go to space and they take all these risks? And right now I'm not talking about the good of going to space or the good of humankind, or I'm just saying risks. They're risking their lives for something that they feel is important. Is it really important that we put a man on the moon, or it advances some technologies, but they're putting their lives at risk. It's very dangerous. But they felt like that level of risk is worth the gain, and that's a personal choice. I understand that. Everybody has to choose what level of risk. So like in my state of Idaho, most of the motorcyclists don't wear helmets, and so you see every day, I see these guys speeding around at 70 miles an hour with no helmets, and most of them aren't young kids. They're guys that are like 50, 60 years old, driving with their wife on the back. So everybody sets their own level of risk, and I don't think, maybe sometimes you see people and you think maybe they don't realize how much risk they're actually taking. And so I think it's constructive to explain maybe some problems that might come up, but if you just say that they're an idiot for not choosing the level of risk that you chose, that's kind of crazy, because it's like this. You could draw it like a graph, right? some people choose this level, and some people choose this level, and some choose this level, and all the way down the line is, is this guy the idiot, or is this guy the idiot, or this guy the idiot? I mean, it's like this. It's a smooth curve. It's not like there's this right and this wrong of what is too much risk, and then this is not enough risk. And another thing that when we analyze risk, that I think is a good way to look at it, is risk that we take every day tend to be reduced in our mind compared to risks that we've never seen other people take. So for example, if you drive to work every day, and let's say you commute through traffic for maybe like an hour, and you do that every day for your job, well, that's extremely risky. I mean, you're driving with tons of other cars around you. You're trusting that everybody's paying attention. I mean, it's like this big complex dance every day that you're running through, and it's killing people every day, right? But we just get numb to it because we all are used to driving, right? So we just think, well, that's not very risky, because that's a risk I regularly take, so it must not be that risky because I'm not an idiot, right? But then we see some person that maybe decides to do a sport like paragliding, and we go, wow, that guy's an idiot. Like, I watched a YouTube video, it showed the wing collapse on a guy, and that's the same sport this guy's taking, so he's an idiot. Or we see someone skydiving, and we go, like, coworker at work decided on the weekend, right for his bachelor party, he's going skydiving. So he goes up and goes with the instructor, and they tandem down or whatever, and we think, like, wow, that's ridiculous amount of risk. But the fact that we're driving in traffic every day, and our coworker went out for a single time and did a skydiving event, really, we're in way more risk. We take a regular risk, and we're way more likely of dying in traffic than the guy who went skydiving. Well, we could say, well, that's a personal choice. I have to go to work. He doesn't have to go skydiving. Well, but I mean, it's a personal choice that you're choosing to drive every day through traffic. You could get a different job. You could move to a different area, a safer area. You could work at home. I work at home, so I have almost no risk in driving. No, not true. I can still get killed in driving, but I'm on the road a lot less. So so maybe my life as a whole, maybe I paraglide, but I almost never drive because I'm always home here. Maybe my overall risk is much lower than someone who might be criticizing me for paramotoring. So, you gotta just kind of think through all this stuff. And I wouldn't be super quick to judge someone about the amount of risk they're taking, that they've decided to take, because maybe they counteract that by having a lot less other risky things in their life. And even if they don't, maybe they've just chosen a super high risk life, and they think, these things are fun, or these have a good cause, or I find these things fulfilling, and so I'm going to pursue that, and if I have a shorter life, then fine. That's what they've chosen. I don't think you're going to probably convince them by saying they're an idiot or something that to choose a safer hobby or something. It's probably not going to happen. But maybe if you provide reasons, you might do some good and help them realize that they're taking too much risk, right? So all this to say, just take a deep breath, relax, provide insight, and maybe just don't jump all over people when they take risks in their life, because I mean, it mostly affects them. Now, for me, like, I started out And I was really young, right out of high school, and I got a Kawasaki Ninja 750, and I rode that thing, and I did wheelies, and I split lanes in traffic, and I did stupid stuff, and I felt like I was invincible. And then my experience showed me that I needed to slow down. And then I got married, and I started taking less risks, and then I started having kids. Now I'm on number 4. So I'm taking less risks. But people can tell me something's risky all day long, and most of the time I pull from my experiences first, and they tell me whether what I'm doing is risky, and then other people's opinions is kind of on the side, but holds a lot less weight with me. So you're probably not going to, like, your little comments online are probably not going to, like, shift people's view of what they're doing, how risky it is, or whether they should be doing it. People are mostly governed by their experiences. So not to say that you can't help people, so Zach purchased a paramotor online. He decided not to get training. He read some books, talked to some friends. He was set on teaching himself, probably because everything he's done in life, he's been able to learn fairly easily, and his experience shows that everything is easier than it looks, and he felt confident that he could do this. So I touched base with him, and I talked to him, and I told him that these are the baby steps. You should really fly down a hill like 25 times and like in a row, and have perfect takeoffs and landings and launches, and be able to pull that wing up, adjust it depending on how the wind's going, and come in for perfect landings. You should be able to pull up that wing every time perfectly before you ever put that motor on your back. And Zach did some training. He when I say some training, I mean he took his wing out to a big field and he practiced, and I showed him like how to kite the wing a little bit, and he spent some time practicing that, and then he practiced pulling up the wing, and we flew down a little hill with his feet just above the ground, maybe like 5 times or something. And Zach felt like he was ready. My experience was totally different. I felt the same way. Like everything I've done in life has been, like, I felt was totally easy. When I learned to snowboard, I just went down the hill for the first time. I didn't take a class on it. Or when I learned to sail, I went out and bought a sailboat, and I went out on the lake the first day and hoisted the sail and see what happened. I had a little pamphlet to tell me how to sail, and and it worked out great. In 5 minutes I was sailing around the lake. So everything I've done, I felt like it came pretty easy. When I went to my USHPA instructor, I thought it was really pretty easy. Everything came quite quickly, and I didn't have any problems with it. So Zach felt like he was ready. I told him, I sent him Amazon helmets and stuff that I said, oh, you should buy this. You should get headsets so that we could talk, and if you have any questions when you're in the air, then I can talk to you. And I tried to push those things, but Zach was in a little bit more of a hurry, right? So on a day that I wasn't there, he was pulling up his wing, and I don't know if he was actually going to take off. I wasn't there, but he pulled up his wing and he's running forward, and I think the wing fell to the side and it caught some strings and it got sucked into his prop, and it tore the wing, and then he had to get it sent in to repair. And it's not like he repaired it himself. He sent it in to a legit place, and they sewed it all up, sent him a $500 bill, and then he was ready to try it again. I mean, he has lots of perseverance. Go Zach. But so all this to be said, Zach was going to go out and go take off, and I'm sure eventually it's not that hard. He would have taken off by himself. Maybe he would have had a couple more bad experiences. I don't know. Maybe. So the question is, do you help someone like this in this situation? I mean, it could be, let's say it's sailing. Someone goes out in the ocean and they say, hey, I had this terrible experience. My boat almost sunk. I got my wing sucked into my motor, whatever, and they tell you all this, and then they say, I'm going out to do it again. Is it the right thing to say, good luck? That's a personal decision. I felt like the right thing was to go help Zach. Because I thought, my instructor, when I was taught how to paraglide, I felt like it was rushed. It was kind of chaotic. Like it was just like, here you go, And I went to a certified USHPA instructor. I didn't think like it was. They didn't go off of a syllabus or provide this big thorough training. It was like kind of chaotic, and I thought, I could have probably taught myself that. So all this to say, I thought I could really help Zach. Would I rather he go to an instructor, someone who has taught hundreds of students and has lots of experience? Of course, I'd much rather see him do that, and I think that'd be a much safer experience for him. But Zach wasn't going to do that. He was going to go take off that day. So I thought the right thing was to go help him, and I still think that was the right thing. If I would have later heard that Zach got his arm cut off, or maybe not his arm, but his fingers all cut off because his hand slipped into the prop, or he sucked in his wing and maybe fell and the prop cut his leg, or maybe he took off and the field that he had chosen wasn't a good one and he went straight into some power lines, or maybe he froze up on landing, didn't flare at all, and ate it like right into the ground and broke his legs. Or maybe he made a turn too close to the ground thinking he wouldn't sink, and he dropped really fast, and he didn't realize that you accelerate when you turn, right? And he hit the ground at like 80 miles an hour in this spiral or something. I would have felt terrible, because here I'm sitting at home not wanting to go out and help him, and I know he's out there taking these risks all by himself when I could be providing a little bit of input here and there. So I felt like the right thing was to go help him. I understand, your guys' feelings that, like, if we just don't help him, that sooner or later he'll go and get instruction, or he'll get hurt and then go get instruction. But ultimately, I felt like it was the right reason to go. I understand your guys' opinions, but that's what I chose. So I had some people say, you're going to get sued. But, I didn't make any commitments to Zach that I was a professional instructor in any way, or that I'm offering free training, or I didn't do any kind of that advertising. Zach asked if I would go fly with him, and you'll notice I brought my motor out and everything, and that was kind of dumb, because when I got there I realized I'm not going to be flying today. I need to focus on Zach because he needs the help. So if you taught someone to sail, and you and a buddy went out and you were showing him sail, and then one of the guys fell overboard and drowned, is the family going to sue you because you had some sailing experience and you went with him? Like, no. I mean, I don't own a training business, or I haven't made this contract with Zach. And if what's another example, like like if you're out at the range and you're shooting a gun and you don't have any idea how to do this, and you're looking like you're doing stuff that's really dangerous, and someone comes up and says, hey, let me show you how to do that. You need to always keep the gun pointed that way, don't point it at other people, keep your finger off the trigger, and they start explaining these things. And then 10 minutes later or 2 days later, that guy ends up shooting himself and killing himself. Nobody's going to sue you because you gave them advice. I mean, you weren't a professional or anything. You were just a guy looking out for another guy. So, yeah, it's all up to a judge or a jury to make those decisions. And I don't think we should be in fear of giving advice to others if we think we can help them. Because ultimately, I mean, that's my goal, that I help those people, So, for what it's worth, that's my thoughts. I don't think you're going to get sued for giving people paramotoring advice. If that was the case, I mean, we shouldn't even be giving people paramotor advice online, because that person might go try that and kill themselves, and then here's this record online of your comment, and they can say, you said that to pull big ears, and he pulled big ears and he fell to his death, and it's your fault. So I don't think that's how our legal system works, but I'm sure there's a few cases where some things similar to that have happened, but that's not how I'm going to live my life. So some people thought I should have been more forceful with that Zach, and been like sort of taking the reins more, and just been like, you do this, you do that, if you don't do this, I'm going home, or try to force him or bully him into what I viewed as the right decisions, right? And then others of you said, no, you should have been more relaxed, you should have let Zach take more control, just been on the sidelines, just kind of watched him do everything. And I probably did somewhere in between that, and kind of let Zach do some things, but gave him some advice here and there, and so everybody would have come to a different balance. I did what I did. I tried to do my best. I think Zach was pleased, and I think I was pretty pleased. So that's how it goes. What? So some people said, hey, you should have totally fixed all those problems that you found in the motor before you ever took off. Well, yeah, of course. So the throttle being crazy long, yeah, we zip tied that all up so that it couldn't get into the prop. The loose netting, how it was flopping back and forth, we zip tied that up so that it was nice and tight, so it wasn't like his lines were going to get sucked past there, or he was going to catch his netting on his prop. So like the helmet, Zach might never fly with a helmet. A lot of paramotor pilots don't fly with helmets. That's their choice, right? I would always think of using a helmet. And even if you decide you're not going to do a helmet, at least train with a helmet, because the chances of you getting hurt is much more likely in those first few hours of you flying. So you might as well wear a helmet for those portions. I mean, just get a bike helmet or something. But, Zach didn't want to wear a helmet, so I'm not going to say that, hey, that was way too much risk and he's going to die because of it. But yeah, I would recommend wearing a helmet. People said, oh, like the straps, so, his leg straps are attached and his waist strap was attached. You can see in my video, how I checked those too right before he took off, and actually the waist strap was undone, so I buckled it. But the other straps adjusted how he's kind of positioned in the seat, and so because of those, he wasn't able to be real comfortable during flight, but it wasn't like he was going to fall out or is going to fall off. And people, you know, like the chest strap right here. So there's two straps here, and they're going to stay in place. But yeah, I mean, you might be able to wiggle an arm out or something, but a lot of paramotors don't have chest straps, and the chest strap isn't long enough to go all the way around and back into the prop. So it being unbuckled is not like this crazy danger or something. Chest straps on backpacks and stuff, the purpose is to, so if your body's having to use these muscles to pull your shoulders forward, and if you attach a chest strap, then it alleviates that, and you can relax your shoulders, and the burden is that tension is now on the chest strap instead of your muscles. So, you know, it's not like Zach was crazy for not wanting the chest strap. I would assume have a chest strap. I mean, but it's not a big deal that he didn't want the chest strap on. People said, hey, you should have done a hang test. Absolutely, we should have done a hang test. I did like 5 hang tests before my first flight. But, you know, Zach didn't do any hang tests. And I'm sure a lot of paramotors pilots don't do a hang test before they take off. But it's a great way to see, like he could have figured out scooting into the seat and practiced that a few times in the safety of being on the ground. It's an excellent idea. I highly recommend it. You can play around with all your straps and figure out, like, do I want to be reclined more, or do I want to be more forward? And you can just kind of adjust all those stuff, because when you're flying, you know, you got this throttle and you're controlling and you're moving through the air and there's a lot going on, and it's just a lot to think about. So you might as well figure out all those things on the ground. But yeah, that would have been an excellent thing to do. I didn't bring like a big metal rig for him to do a hang test at the field. So some of you said that I did Zach a disfavor by coming out, and you know, you got to keep in mind Zach was planning to continue to try until he would taken off. So we don't know, we don't have a crystal ball to know if I wasn't there, would Zach have had his arm sucked into the prop and cut off all his fingers and had to live the rest of his life like that, or would he have, you know, accidentally flown into some power lines or something like that. You know, maybe Zach would have done perfect. Maybe he didn't need any of my help. Maybe he needed all of it. I mean, we don't know. We can't make these blanket statements that cover every situation and say that you know, Zach would have on this try not hurt himself, but gone home and called an instructor and set up an appointment, had this great training experience that was safe with an USHBA instructor, and then came back and had this great successful flight career. And we can't say that, you know, Zach is, you know, his self-training experience is going to kill him, and we just don't know those things. You know, we can try to educate people on the risks, but sooner or later they're going to, you know, take their own risks. I've heard people say that, you know, we should always go with an USHBA instructor because if we don't, it's bad for the sport. Because if we do self-taught or we do these things, those people are more likely to have accidents. That's going to get news, bad press, and we're going to get regulated, which thrills some people. Some people are super excited about this sport getting regulated. I don't really like regulation. I think it does as much harm as it does good, if not more. So I like the fact the sport is unregulated. But you know, I feel like sometimes when people are like, so we don't want it to get regulated, so we should fly in such a way that is regulated so that it doesn't become regulated. But if you're flying as though you're under regulations, isn't it sort of the same thing as being under regulations? I don't know. So some things to think about. I also had people say that we were just hating on Blackhawk this whole time. Like, we were like, oh, they didn't hook up these straps correctly, and so Blackhawk sent this in a box to Zach, and he assembled all of it. So it's not like Blackhawk didn't assemble this motor, or that they just gave him this motor cable, throttle cable that was like crazy long, and they've just never thought about, like, oh, we should have made it 3 feet shorter. No, I'm sure Blackhawk's thought through this. I'm sure they've figured out the exact length that cable should be. It's probably supposed to be routed like around the tank to the right side, or something, and there's probably all that documented somewhere. And you know what Zach needs to do is he needs to call Blackhawk, or continue to research and find on YouTube, and the information is out there. It's just a matter of him figuring out how to use this equipment. So Blackhawk might be great. I haven't spent hundreds of hours flying Blackhawk motors, so I can't tell you hardly anything about Blackhawk, you know, aside from their specs and what a few of my friends have told me. So I am in no way bashing Blackhawk in that last video or this video. I think that the problems that arose were purely that we just needed to educate ourselves more on the motor in order to use it safely. So that's all I have to say about Blackhawk. So hopefully you guys find this video useful, and if you're going to comment in the future on any videos or on any Facebook pages, I would recommend, before you comment, think about what your motivation for commenting is. Is it a selfish motivation that it's alleviating this pent-up aggression or strong feelings, or are you demeaning someone to make yourself feel a little bit better about yourself, or are you truly, like in this case, concerned for Zach? And if you're concerned for Zach, try to, or others that might be watching this video, try to articulate your comment into such a way that would help the reader, or Zach or myself, because if you're just spouting something off, or if you're selling some equipment and you're saying that it's better and Blackhawk is terrible, or whatever brand, it doesn't help anybody. I don't think people reading it go like, oh, that guy said Blackhawk was terrible, so it must be terrible. You know, I would just take a deep breath, think about the reader who's going to read it, and don't just let your fingers fly off a bunch of comments. But I should also say that a lot of the comments that I read were excellent. You guys were, I felt like they were super mature, encouraging. Some of them were warning. Some of them were educational. A lot of them were really great. So thank you guys. Please continue to comment on these videos. I definitely enjoy reading the comments, most of them, and yeah, I'll continue to be putting out a lot of more videos here. If you haven't watched the video of Zach doing his self-training, I'm going to put it right up here so that you can go ahead and check that out. So feel free to watch that. And yeah, if you want to see more videos like this and kind of watch my progression through the sport and maybe some others, and I'll continue to put videos of Zach up here because I'm sure we'll go fly again together. And then feel free to subscribe and you can see more videos like that, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks guys.